It's been a great series so far. I think we're the third Lunch and Learn in the series. And today we're here to talk to you about the university IT strategy. So we've got a little bit of a presentation together here, but I want this to be a dialogue. So if you have questions along the way, please feel free to raise your hand and ask them. We are recording this, so when you have a question, one of us will repeat your question and pass the microphone around so that we can address it and it's captured on video. So why don't we go ahead and get started. I'm here, for those of you, hopefully you know who I am, Diane Daggerford, Deputy CIO, and I'm here today with my colleagues, Joe Rausch from Education and Human Ecology, Tracy Richardson, our own and beloved Tracy Richardson, and Tim Smith, who's from the College of Arts and Sciences. And together we're the team who are leading initiatives under the university IT strategy over the coming couple of years. Bill, could you please go to the next slide? Thank you very much. Bill's our clicker today. Thank you. So the first thing to talk about, is the university IT strategy a strategic plan? That's often the question that we get at the outset. No, the university IT strategy is a direction. It establishes a destination, and it establishes 7 areas of investment and partnership where IT communities across the university need to come together to be able to reach that destination. So this graphic that you see here represents the strategy and the components of the strategy in a nutshell. In the center, improved technology experience, that's the direction, that's the flag on the horizon. Why bother with any of this at all? The point is to make a better user experience for technology, for our students, our faculty, our staff, our alumni, visitors to campus, and so forth. And because we work in a hybrid IT environment at Ohio State, we have to partner together to be able to deliver that improved technology experience, that seamlessness across the university. So we can't partner on everything, we can't boil the ocean. So the darker circles around that improved technology experience represent key areas where we absolutely have to be aligned across the university to be able to deliver that improved technology experience as an outcome. And then the circle around, the arrows that surround the diagram, that's the context in which we operate. And it's something that we need to always pay attention to, because we're always going to be asked to, how does IT help us generate new revenue as a university? Think about President Drake and his 2020 vision. What can we do to be more efficient with our IT and help reduce cost? And typically the ask is, can we reduce cost in lots of operational areas, including IT, to free up resources to reinvest in student scholarships and other kind of student aid? Create value. It takes a lot of effort to do this kind of stuff together, and so all that effort has to end up delivering some kind of tangible value. We always have to make sure that as we undertake initiatives, the tangible value can be measured as a result. And then finally, culture of collaboration. I believe very strongly that the right kind of IT at Ohio State is a hybrid IT environment where we have central IT resources and local IT resources working together always towards that improved technology experience. Can we go to the next slide, Bill? So these are the investment areas. I'm going to run through these quickly, but you'll note under the University IT Strategy slide title, there's a web link. If you want to read about more of this in detail, you can go to the website and take a look. So the 7 areas are mobile first, and the idea behind mobile first, in fact, one of the department chairs expressed it really well. He said, Diane, you know, in the future, my needs are simple. All I really want is to be able to project to any screen I encounter on campus from my mobile device. That's it, that's all I want. So if you think, you know, that's a really good way to think about what a mobile-first experience means. It means that we can move seamlessly across organizational boundaries, across different physical locations at the Columbus campus, at our other campuses, and other kinds of outposts and areas, move seamlessly and still be able to do our work. The other point of this is we can conduct any kind of transaction we need to with the university from a mobile device. Faculty, staff, students, alumni, friends, visitors, and so forth. Empowering teaching innovation. This means we've got the technology in place required to grow our distance education programs and also to deliver the learning outcomes that we know can be fueled when we bring technology to the learning experience. Advancing research, making sure that those partnerships between central IT and local IT at the college level, at the unit level, at the researcher lab level, that those partnerships help researchers accelerate their discoveries and remove barriers to using technology for their studies. Lean IT is actually a thing, and I love it that they have this idea of 8 wastes. And there's a mnemonic device to remember what those wastes are called downtime, where D is I don't even remember what they all mean. I need to study the mnemonic device a little better. But one of the wastes is about underutilized talent. And I think this is a really important concept of lean IT, where we need to make sure that the skilled staff that we have around the university, IT staff, postdocs, even graduate research assistants and so forth, all of the folks around the university who support the academic mission, do they have the skills to be able to move the needle forward in these forward-thinking areas? And how do we help folks get those skills? That's why developed talent is another one of our investment areas. We want to make sure that as the world moves into a cloud future, that the talented staff that we have around the university supporting the academic mission also have the skills to get us there. Effective risk management is all about working with, continuing the work that folks are doing already towards 3 in Green by 2018, and continuing that work beyond 2018. And analytics. So as we move to Workday, we've got a lot of centers of excellence around the university in dealing with institutional data and data for institutional decision making. As we move to Workday, a lot of the things that we now have access to through BuckIQ and e-reports and the nightly downloads of snapshots that happen in EHE, in arts and sciences, elsewhere across the university, that local teams are using those data to build local apps. All that's going to change when we go to Workday. So analytics is here to talk about, well, what's the vision for the future? Because while we have metrics and business intelligence and some kind of predictive things that are going to be handled through Workday, there are going to be more advanced analytics that we need to take care of and build an advanced analytics environment and ecosystem to go along with Workday and help the university use the massive amounts of data that we collect on a daily basis to be more insight rich, if you will. Today we're data rich and insight poor, maybe not poor, but middle class. But we need to get to that advanced analytic capability so that we can leverage the data that we have for all kinds of new insights. So those are the key investment areas.
September 5th, you can find more information about that.
September 5th, that's right, there will be a lunch and learn about analytics services that Steve Fisher will be leading, and come back here to learn more about that, yes. Good plug, and I think there might be some crowd diving, but we'll see. Can we go to the next one? So one of the things that has come up in our discussion, so Joe has been going down this journey for the past year and has been out talking with deans and fiscal officers and IT leaders across the university about the strategy and has gotten a lot of feedback and a lot of questions from folks. And one of the concepts that we've been starting to really think about is the question of what IT should be delivered at what level. And a framework for thinking about that question is to think about IT in terms of core, common, and unique. You can think of it like layers in a layer cake, but the concept is this. Core IT is any IT that any organization needs to be able to be in business. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You can be in higher ed, you can be in the insurance business, you can be in retail. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Hospital, you need network connectivity, you need backups, you need servers and storage. There are some basic core IT utilities that are required just to be in business in any industry today. That's what core is. Unique are the kinds of technologies that are required for a very specific application. But think about the kinds of technologies that are needed in research that are only applicable to that particular research team. Common is where we've got groups around the university that are coming together to partner on a solution, but only those partners need to use that solution, not everybody across the university. So here's the example. There's a lot of work now and there's a lot of talk now about autonomous vehicles. So what if we had buses, our bus system? What if it was completely autonomous? What would it take for our bus system to become completely autonomous? Can you imagine that? I mean, that's not too far off, right? That's not like some freaky space, what did you call it earlier, Ben? Evil scientist approach or some vision. That is going to happen. It's something we're seeing in our lifetimes. So right now, it's in the research lab stage. The folks who are experimenting with autonomous vehicles are looking at it from computational perspective, are doing very limited experiments. The technologies that they're using would fall in the unique category today. But let's say that they get they make progress in their research and they realize, wow, why don't we actually test it in production? Let's take one bus line and make it autonomous. Well, that might involve a couple of partners, transportation and parking, for example, OCIO plus the research team, to put in place what's needed for that one bus line experiment to happen. Let's say that passes and the decision is made, you know what, we're going to expand this across the university. Well, then that just becomes standard operating procedure at some point, and the technologies that are required for that to happen become part of core. So the point here is that there's movement between core, common, and unique every single day. And that movement, that's what the arrow on the right-hand side is supposed to represent. The point is, as solutions mature and as adoption increases, things that started out as unique technologies or core technologies that are partnerships among groups start to become core and just part of the fabric of what we do on a daily basis. So this is a good way for us to be able to structure our conversations around partnering in the areas of the university IT strategy. Can we go to the next one? So, yeah. So benefits. Why are we doing all of this? We want to have a seamless technology experience for our students, our faculty, our staff, our visitors. From my perspective, and I know all of you understand what I mean when I say this, if we're successful, technology is invisible. I mean, there's part of me that's like, dang, I don't want it to be invisible. I want it to be understood and known. But at the end of the day, if the technology is working the way it should be invisible so that what can be at the forefront is the work, the academic work that's happening through our students, our faculty, our staff, our visitors. Number 2, stronger central and local IT partnerships. We have to work together to achieve this vision. And the only way we're going to get that to happen is through strong partnerships between college-level IT, central-level IT, labs working, teams working in a faculty member's research lab, department-level IT, and so forth. We have to be strong partners together. Excellence and resource investment and stewardship. Are we making wise investment decisions as we procure new services and organize service delivery going forward? And IT as enabler for the university strategic plan. So this is something that is important to the president, to the provost. They've been working on it for a while. The university strategic plan will need IT in many areas to drive it forward. And the areas that are defined as the 7 key investment areas for the university IT strategy map well to what's starting to come into focus for that university strategic plan. So this is a build slide. I'm going to have you click through. So the first click is, so let me tell you what the goals are for fiscal 18 to 20 under the University IT Strategy Initiative from the Office of the CIO. The first one is to modernize the campus environment. We're going to come back and describe in detail what each of these means in just a minute. Let's go to the second one. Help staff attain cloud certifications. We're going to the cloud. Lots of things are moving to the cloud. We have smart people around the university who need to understand what that means and how that works. Phase out local server rooms and data centers. This is an idea of where lean really helps us move forward. How do we leverage the resource investments that we have in the SOC and other options to get out of the local data center and server room business. And number 4, govern the IT strategy. How do we collaborate as partners across the university to make decisions together to move this strategy forward? But those aren't the only things that are going to happen in fiscal 18 to 20. Other activities will be underway, but they fall under different large initiative headers, if you will. For example, the 3 in green by 2018, that's still going forward. We expect units to achieve those goals, and I think most everybody's on track to do that. As you probably have heard, we're working on a cloud services contract, and we're trying very hard to make sure that we've got cloud services available for research from the major cloud services providers. Support for university strategic plan goals and empowering teaching innovation. Teaching and learning focus is a big part of the university's strategic plan. We want to make sure technology is well aligned. And then finally, the analytics services. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to my colleagues to talk about modernizing the campus environment.
All right, well, when we talk about modernizing the campus environment, one of the first areas that we're looking at that aligns with the strategic direction is mobile first. So in this year, in FY18, one of the things that we're going to work on is collaboratively defining what modern mobile first services look like. So things like print anywhere, like you all have here in Mount Hall, where you can, if you see a printer, you can print to it. Project anywhere, like the example Diane mentioned earlier. In order to do these things, you have to have some type of managed network solution in the colleges. And we're also looking at getting Skype for Business ready to roll out to the rest of the university. Now, with all of these things, we're going to collaborate across the units to help define what these services look like, what the requirements are, and that kind of thing. And with the adoption of all of these and getting the services in place, there will be some early adopters. My group is signed on with managed networking. I'd love to sign on with print anywhere and project anywhere, so we're getting there. And Arts and Sciences has also been an early tester, I think, for Skype for Business and the networking one as well. So the idea is to get these services in place, get them ready for consumption by the rest of campus. And then in FY19 and 20, we hope to have those services fully ready and available at scale. So if a unit says, hey, I want to do print anywhere, or whatever we end up branding it as, it's easy, it can be delivered, you can talk to your relationship manager in a unit and get that service. And once those are available, then the colleges are free to start moving forward and adopting them. Any questions about any of that? Okay.
Great. So Diane mentioned that we're already using the cloud, right? So we've been using the cloud for quite a long time. We've taken a giant leap with Workday and Canvas most recently. So it's going to be really important that Ohio State employees have access to training and certification programs, not just to understand how cloud works, but to actually use it responsibly and securely to do some great things. So one of the goals that we have for the university IT strategy is to build a larger contingent of folks who are certified in cloud technology. So the first goal under Help IT Staff Attain Cloud Certification is colleges and VP areas having at least one person who has earned a cloud certification by June 30th of 2018. And then moving forward, making sure that we're working across the university community to get a more formal cloud training and certification program in place, and give employees an opportunity to learn more about the cloud and work more with cloud technologies and services. Any questions on that? Seems attainable, right? Okay.
Okay, the third focus area is going to be to phase out the local server rooms and data centers. And some activities that we'll do along this front in this current year is we need to reach out to campus and the colleges and get an inventory and start to think about some phase-out plans for local server rooms. We also need to complete the readiness audit of the OCO services at the SOC to make sure that they are prepared for an influx of brand new customers. And then there's a feeling that we need to run some kind of an assessment and some data gathering on if there's a need for a common research server room for maybe some workloads that aren't good candidates for the SOCs, for the SOC, due to physical access needs for students. And then in the next couple years, we'll have the SOC services that are fully available at scale. The research server facility is fully available if it's needed. And college and VP areas start to carry out those plans that they've made to phase out of their local facilities. Any questions on that one? Yeah. The question was, will we work with Pair to get a dump of the room inventory and work from there? I think that'll be one of the data sources. I think we'll also reach out through IT and unit leads to identify those spaces as well. Anybody else want to add to that? No. Okay. So the follow-up was that database might not be 100%, so we need to follow up with the people.
So the last goal that we have is to establish governance. And governance has two components to it. One is, of course, setting up governance. What does it mean? And when we talk about governance, we're not talking about the usual representative committee where everyone shows up for the first few meetings and then pretty soon interest wanes and people drop out, and then you're trying to make decisions with committee members that aren't present but yet have a representative role that's not being fulfilled. So instead, what we're looking at is ways that we can establish qualifications and requirements for a seat at the governance table and hold folks to participating with skin in the game, if you will. Collaboration means partnership. Partners mean actively working together towards a common and mutually beneficial solution. So when we talk about governance around this IT strategy, we're talking about people who are helping to make shared decisions between central and distributed IT units, and of course continually updating this strategy as we learn things along the way. But it's key to make sure that the folks who are around that decision-making table are actively engaged and are active partners in the process. And then we need some tools to help us know how well we're doing. One of the tools is an IT spend dashboard. This is something that comes up every couple of years. There's probably a cycle. I'm sure our friends in analytics could do a study for us and come up with some beautiful Tableau dashboard that would show the cycle. But anyway, the point is we spend a lot in IT. We need to make sure that every investment that we make delivers value. And that's just not central IT, that's local IT, that's IT across the university. IT for teaching and learning, IT for research, for whatever. So one of the ways to do that is to establish, well, what do we mean by IT spend? Let's analyze it. Let's decide, is that good? Is that bad? Is that enough? Is that not enough? Are there good ways, good kinds of spending on the same sort of thing? Are there bad kinds of spending on the same sort of thing? Are we spending, what's our percent of spend on mission forwarding, mission advancing kinds of IT as opposed to keep the lights on kinds of IT? We need to gather the data, examine the data, and then decide, okay, here are our goals when it comes to looking at and managing the university's overall IT investments. That's the first thing. And of course, we'll be working with fiscal officers across the university and IT leaders across the university to figure this out. Second thing is an IT strategy scorecard. So what scorecard would we present to the board that shows our progress towards the goals that have been discussed here today? And then finally, IT roadmaps. So how do the services and the planned services currently available today and currently planned within OCIO and OD, how do folks in the units understand what those roadmaps look like? Conversely, how do OCIO and OD understand what units are planning to invest in so that we're more proactive in how we decide to partner on solutions together? Today it's reactive, and if we happen to have a window of time where when your maintenance contract comes up and our maintenance contract comes up and we could decide, ooh, they both come up within 6 months of each other, we can do this, that right now, that's accidental. Having roadmaps helps us be proactive and start to plan how we align our spend in different areas. So those are some tools that we will pilot this year to help us understand how we're doing with the IT strategy. So as we progress through the fall semester, we're going to take this same message out to deans, IT leaders, fiscal officers across the university, and other stakeholders who would like to hear this message. We're inviting everyone to share their feedback via the website. We have a u.osu.edu/IT strategy is the place to go if you have questions, comments, feedback you'd like to share. And this is the team, so feel free to stop any one of us as well, or just shoot us a note anytime if you have questions about the IT strategy. We'd be happy to come talk to your teams at a team meeting sometime if you'd like that, or if there's anything that you feel, any group around the university that you work with that you feel would benefit from hearing this message, let us know and we'll reach out to them to try to have a conversation with them as well. I see Mike is here. Mike, are there any additional comments that you'd like to share about the IT strategy? And you have to use the microphone.
There you go.
I think everyone understands this is the core of what we're doing. I think the ability to have Joe and Tim from the distributed IT leading this effort and leading a lot of these efforts is important as we go out to the rest of the distributed IT and ask them to, reshape their goals and reshape their thoughts around this is the first time we've tried to do this at the university level. We are going to have to start acting more like a community of IT rather than disparate parts if we're going to be successful, and this is what's going to drive that. So not that it's any more or less important than any of our top goals or objectives, but it is really at the core and driving so many things. And I think it positions IT in a place to drive university strategy as well, which it hasn't done in the past or hasn't been able to do in the past. So all really good things, all really challenging and new things for us as an organization and for us as an IT community across Ohio State. So how this aligns to college and units strategic plans is going to be really important in the coming years. That's really tough given the pace at which and the scale of which we have to operate in as IT at Ohio State, not just OCIO, not just ODEE, not just disparate, whether that's EHE or whether that's ASC sitting up here on the table. We have to do this together because if we don't, these things that we're striving to modernize are going to look like impediments. And it's going to be the big challenge, right? And it's a big challenge for all of us to face. So that's what I would say on the fly without prepared comments. Questions?
The IT spend, like is the unit spending enough or not enough? What's the baseline? How are you determining that?
The question is, what are we using for the baseline to establish a unit's IT spend, right? And then there was another question, which is, and how do you determine if that's good or not, or there's sort of a value around it? So we've had multiple opportunities to review what an external consulting group felt was the university's baseline spend. And the last time they were here, we sat down with them and we said, look, we need to be able to do this on our own. when you're not here, not using your proprietary methods? Can you recommend some codes that we could use in the procurement system, with non-personnel IT spend, and job codes that are in the personnel side of the house to help us at least get an accurate count? And so they recommended 5 purchasing codes like Comp E, Comp S, Soft W, DAP something. There are a couple of more, like 5, 6 different codes that we would use in the financial system to pull transactions that are pretty much IT spend. And then they helped us define job codes like systems developer engineer, senior systems manager SAP, not SAP, and so forth, that are pretty much just IT job families. And then we went in and looked at what are some things that were missed by those nets. And for example, on the personnel side, my job code is not senior systems manager, it's director-00. And there are a lot of people around the university that have that job code that have nothing to do with IT. So we had to do a manual selection of people who don't have systems job codes but are very important to include in that count. And we were able to do that for the past 10 years and include that into basically a query that we could then rerun and make available to all the fiscal officers to validate and say, yeah, I agree with that. So the baseline includes personnel spend, so who are people who are doing IT jobs, and non-personnel spend, what stuff did we buy, what services did we buy, and so forth. And so the first step is to just gather all of that information and take a look at it and agree, yeah, that's representative enough that we feel that we can benchmark ourselves year over year and unit by unit without having to create this, what did you spend on IT, manually each time. Then once we all agree that, okay, this is what we're including in our spend equation, the next thing is to ask the judgment questions. Is that good? Is that bad? What parts of it might be good? What parts of it might be bad? Where could we do better? So the first challenge is to take the base definition that we already have, sanity check it around the university with IT leaders and fiscal officers, and once we're satisfied that we have an accurate, not necessarily precise, but accurate year-over-year IT spend baseline, then we can start making those value judgments. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so the only thing I would add is what Diane said. I think collectively across the university compared to our peers, we've been doing some peer in the Big Ten assessment too, we're spending what I would say the right amount on IT, holistically, right? So, there's others that spend more, The best way I could describe it is if you had 5 doctors, right? And everybody was trying to go see a doctor, but all 100 people lined up to see the first doctor and not the other 4, you would say that the system's broken, right? Because this line was really long, right? So I think our lines are really long in certain areas, even though we have expertise or places so we have to shift like resources. We have to understand that these people need to go here and these people need to go here and each doctor sees 20 people. It's not that this number is wrong. Could it get better? Sure, but not by a lot. I mean, like we're talking of I'm thumbnailing here, of $150 million spend across the university, which is roughly, give or take 10 million, what it is, 8 to 10 million we could be more efficient on, right? So you're not talking about massive numbers of change through that bigger IT spend number, right? It's about what's Tim spending money on, and I'm using Tim as an example, through what's his lines look like in arts and science, right? Mm-hmm. And how can you shift or move some of that to be more efficient and effective in our spend so that it could actually free up money to do things that are more unique for his college. So that whole bucket doesn't change, but where we're spending those dollars do. And that's, if that was easy, somebody would have done it a long time ago, right? But this, and why I think it's a really good question for this presentation, is this is what's going to drive that, right? So if we're all working towards the one example of, getting out of local data centers, right? Or data closets, whatever we're calling them, right? Well, then that doesn't mean we're spending less on data centers. That's not what we're saying, right? It's saying that we're moving that and shifting that to here for whatever reasons, better security, scale, infrastructure, whatever, right? Upgrade. And then maybe some of that money could be used elsewhere because you're going to see some savings here. So it's a really good question. And we know we have challenges in that as well. Like, so especially when we go out and start to talk with a lot of the units about managed IT services or where they are. Presidents like to do things, and our president announced that we're going to this consolidated computer buy to the deans at the last Council of Deans meeting. And that was supposed to start July 1. Okay? So we're going to a consolidated computer buy. We bought 2,600 different types of computers last year across the university. I think we could do better than that, right? I don't think it's one, right? But somewhere in between 1 and 2,600 is the right number of machines we have to buy. And we're going to have to collectively come together to do that. And I look at someone like Joe, right? And I know this because we went through his budget. He doesn't have the refresh dollars in his budget for all of his faculty and his staff to get new computers on a timely basis, right? If we could do that together, maybe it doesn't solve all of his problem, but maybe it solves a quarter of his problem or a half of his problem, right? Because now that we're buying 12,000 computers by the pallet for $300 a pop, he could buy X number instead of Y number. So the number doesn't get much different, but the impact does. And I think that's what's really going to be driven by the strategy and by understanding what those costs are. Go ahead, man.
So
I'll repeat it.
mentioning is infrastructure and the commodity stuff that we expect to be in place, or students expect to be in place. So students start this weekend, right? In 5 years, all those students will be gone for the most part.
So what's the impact, or what's the student life going to be look like in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
You want to take a shot at this one, Joe? Yeah. Predict the future? It's all recorded, so we can look at it from five years from now and be like, hey.
So one of the things that, this isn't an all-encompassing thing, excuse me, but I think one of the things that's very easy to picture, is that, when we talk about printing anywhere or projecting anywhere or being able to work anywhere because the wireless connections exist everywhere that you go on campus, the difference in students today and the students 5 years from now will be how easy it is for them to collaborate with each other and with their faculty and their advisors and anyone else they need to work with on campus. It won't be, right now, if you're enrolled in certain engineering programs, you may have access to virtual machines to do different types of work. Well, if you're also enrolled in an EHE course, you may have access to a different stack of virtual machines that do a different amount of work. Having that seamless experience and not having a separate set of credentials for EHE, a separate set of credentials for engineering, a separate set of, and I'm just picking engineering, I don't know if they have a separate set or not. But when you start talking about making things easier and removing the blockers, it's about having these core things in place so that it's easier for everyone to work. That's how I'm picturing it right now based on some of the things we've talked about today.
I would ask you, Ben, how you think the world's going to be different in 5 years. I mean, what do you see? You are working with students on a daily basis on the Ohio State app and in other areas, and you have a sense of what their expectations are today and what expectations we're able to meet, not able to meet, and what you think those expectations are going to look like going forward. What do you think? And I'm going to hand this to you so you can share your opinion.
So I like the reducing friction comment, right? Because I think that's really important here. There's two things. One, I think from an expectation point of view, students don't understand the scale or care about it or the difficulties that they have. And I think they expect those things to work right now, right? So if our goal in 5 years is for wireless to be seamless, I can go home and my wireless is seamless, right? So they don't differentiate between those two, and that's become more and more obvious. Like, we kind of indoctrinate them when they come here. The other thing, and maybe mobile's an example, the way we get resources to them, I think, needs to change. So we have a lot of really good resources, and we were talking about it today, like Mental Health Matters and the food bank and all those things, right? We don't do a very good job at getting those resources to the students. And I think having some way to do that that's meaningful, where they get used properly, could change their lives, right? It might not be the technology experience, like I hop on a driverless bus, but it might get them through college, right, with less debt or something like that. So.
I also think there's some managing of expectations that we have to do. And so when you live in the dorm, it's not like living at home, right? And so there is bandwidth going into those dorms at, massive connections, right? Here's my options for you. I could start tethering Netflix and whatever else they're watching. I don't know, Hulu and, right? And then guess what? Carmen's not going to be slow, Well, we don't want you to do that. Of course you don't want me to do that. I don't want to do that, right? But it's this understanding. Now, I think we need to find technology solutions on the back end that help us manage traffic in different types of layers, right? And Jay knows this. I'm looking at Jay. But this isn't home, right? And there's different rules, and you're in a community now. And so I agree with you that we have to become seamless and we have to meet student expectations. But I think there's also setting some expectations as well that we all have to do. But that's going to be the challenge, right? So, I mean, it's crazy. Like 5 years ago when we kicked off Digital First, we talked about 3 devices per chair in the classroom. That's obsolete at this point, right? It's obsolete. Most students have 3, if not more, right? And so now you're talking about dorm rooms that have, if you're a triple occupancy or you're a double occupancy, that have 12, 13, 14, 15 things connected, and connected in ways that we never thought, where they're constantly communicating. They're constantly pulling information. I mean, I know you know this better than anyone else, right? That you want them connected to your app all the time, right? We want them to be able to get more information from us. So that's such a challenge given the scale, right? And so we're going to have to look at those models, right? Because you can't run at this scale in this model, So there is like this, there is a dichotomy at work that isn't matching up, and we got to fix that. We got to fix that and fix understanding and smooth that out so that people understand what they're getting and understand the environment that they're working in.
No.
Come on, chair.
So this the IT strategy, a lot is about the IT community you've talked about and these different, the distributed IT. Mike, Diane, or anybody, when you talk with folks outside of IT, A, today, how do you present this to them? Or B, how do you want to present this to them in the future? And where do they see it? Is it just, oh yeah, hey Hoffer, just make sure tech goes down 10%? Or is it like, hey, we can be strategic partners because they understand the importance of technology and how it can drive things?
I'll answer that very quickly with the simple word of both, right? So they want to make sure that we are operating as efficiently as possible, right? And that means wherever we can reduce the spend, we can reduce the spend, okay? But for the first time in a very long time, they see technology as a driver, right? And They see this because everywhere they go, that's what people are telling them, right? So if they go and visit with Boeing, or if they go and visit with Embraer, or they go and visit with Honda, or they go and visit with company blah, 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 whoever we have a partnership with, right? This is what the future looks like. This is what we need your graduates to be able to do. They need a sound fundamental knowledge in engineering. They need a sound base in the arts. They need a sound base in computer science, whatever their expertise is, but they better understand technology, and they better understand how to work in an environment that is rich in technology, right? It's not like I know Office, right? That's not gonna cut it, right? If there was an article in the, it was either in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or the Washington Post, one of these jobs, about what a modern factory job looks like, right? A modern factory job, right, will probably interface with more technology than most of the people in this room. And we do it every day, right? And so you gotta have those skill sets, not just in white collar jobs, but in blue collar jobs, right? And so how are you marrying these, we're in the middle of this, right? And I think it's crazy. I've been working on this sort of TED-like talk that talks about how we switch from an agrarian society to the industrial age and the challenges we went through as a country to figure out that. We're in the middle of that now. We are switching from an industrial, manufacturing-driven society to a service technology society. And we have the same, it's almost mirrored, right? If we would just go back and read a history book, we may actually learn something, right? But we have to be the drivers of that. And I think what you hear President Drake say all the time is that universities are going to be the new hubs. Innovation is going to grow out around higher education. And if you look at the ones that are successful and you look at that's what's happening. And I think you're going to see more and more of that, whether that's development of Western lands, whether they're new partnerships that we're going to announce, right? Universities are going to be at the hub of that. So, it's exciting, but it's all this change, right? And all new models and all new ways to do things. And, that's scary and that's difficult too. So thank you. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Joe, Tracy, Tim.